But let's talk about the road ahead as well. I mean, the market has changed. The competitive landscape is different. Technology is completely different. The Indian consumer is far more savvy, does have a little bit more discretionary income, to play with at this point in time. What do the next 25 years look like? When you say the best is yet to come, capture that for me.
Next 25 years for all businesses, including us, and I'll tell you specifically what is happening for travel as well, is going to be driven by these fundamental macro story that India's outlook is, as you can see from all these matrices. Now, so what does it mean for, let's say, travel businesses specifically? And there, what is also happening, and maybe it is thanks to COVID, what happened, because, people saw those difficult times from very, very close, right? Yeah. If you really look at any surveys, and by the way, a global phenomenon. So if you ask a question, and we've looked at many of them, if you ask a question, where would you want to spend your, lion's share of your disposable income at your disposal? And the travel is right up there. And then the next one is the entertainment and the experience and so on. The possessions are going down. Yeah. The material possessions in terms of all the gadgets and the products are actually going down. So people want to spend more money.
So behavior reset.
The behavior reset is happening, right? Yeah. So the consumer habit is changing, behavior. And we see that from our own data for the last few quarters, we see our frequent travelers are actually taking more trips than they were ever before. Right? It's a combination of short-term vacations, and we've seen trends like...
So the YOLO phenomena is here to stay.
And Gen Z. And it's real. And Gen Z.
And renter economy.
And the sharing economy.
Like, right? People don't want to really buy. They don't want to own assets. They just want to be light-footed. And this is people like not much younger.
Yeah.
I have a brother who's 40 years old, doing very well, lawyer, his own firm, doesn't own a house, doesn't want to own a house. And he's very clear about it. This is a complete waste.
Absolutely. And the new use cases, the celebration use cases, not only the younger population and people who are going to office, they are not necessarily celebrating everything. I mean, you have to have an excuse to celebrate.
What's the most unusual celebration case that you've seen?
Well, festival is one of them. Or I actually, just unusual one is just a long weekend and I just want to get into it. There's no occasion, there's no anniversary, there's no birthday. Just a get together, have full flexibility of music and late night and party.
I believe they're now breakup and turning single again parties.
Breakup and turning single again
parties. Their parties and get-togethers. Like, listen, now guess what? We're all single, we're party. But all kinds of stuff is happening, as we know. Like proposal economy is happening, People now, youngsters are choosing exotic locations to go make a proposal, and they actually travel to that, this is the kids' generation, clearly. I know people who have chosen Morocco recently and went and made a proposal in the Sahara Desert, and these are Indians. So they're traveling all over the world to make proposals. So imagine what will happen when the marriage and everything else goes. I think it's become a celebration also. Everyone's coming to the conclusion, listen, the most valuable thing we have is time. It's the only resource that's finite.
And you can't take it for granted.
And live it up, enjoy if you have everything else, then make those moments count. And create memories. So I think all of that comes together in the travel.
Which is great news for your business.
Great news for us.
Absolutely.
Great news.
Absolutely. And the best part for us has always been at MakeMyTrip when you see all stakeholders getting benefit of it. Like those are the high points for us. Like when we IPO'd, the high point was not necessarily achieving that milestone, to be honest, because at the end of the day, it's a project for the organization. It was more that the 80% of the stockholders got benefited out of it, right? Our people.
Employees.
And employees, absolutely. And, and a lot of those actually didn't even believe in that.
What was it? 80% of the team had held stock. Like we had made sure they'll get some stock. So it was a big deal for everyone.
And there have been stories, Shireen, believe it or not. I mean, I remember those moments because when IPO happened, they suddenly started going back to their records and saying, where's that damn paper?
Where's that piece of paper?
Where's that piece of paper? Because nobody really realized that it had any value. And some of them came back and then we've lost it and can we just get it back, right? So it was really, really good to see.
They probably didn't think that anything would come off it, right? So tucked away in some file
luckily
somewhere.
Finance had all records and everything's electronic. But people were like that. Like I remember them coming saying, "Aapne kuch ek wo diya tha letter nahi mil raha." They were scared. It's gone. So I said, no, don't worry.
Suddenly
it's
it
still
had
there."
dollar value, right?
Yeah,
So,
absolutely. You're now sitting on a very strong balance sheet, record profitability at this point in time. What does that do in terms of fueling future aspirations? What does it make you want to do with the money that you're sitting on at this point in time? What does it mean in terms of future diversification, the kinds of businesses that you want to get into, ancillary businesses that you haven't yet explored but may want to consider?
No, it's a tremendous moat, firstly, and it gives you the firepower as and when required if there's a good acquisition. I don't think there's any kind that we can't really look at, just stock or stock plus, just cash or cash plus stock. But we're still very mindful about that. We still think that there's a lot to be done in travel. While you can say majority of domestic air tickets are now bought online for sure, and also for bus tickets. But the moment you go to hotels, we are still scratching the surface. So it's still in the low double-digit kind of penetration number. There's a long way to go. And the homestays and villas market has opened up, alternate accommodation. We are in that in a big way. We think that's just going to explode with, again, like Rajesh said, more affluence, means second homes, means more travel. So people's secondary homes, very often you're saying, okay, I'm going to use that home for a month in the year or whatever. Rest of the time, do I have an agency which is coming up in the ecosystem who can maintain it for me and who can rent it out and I'll make a return on it so it pays for itself or more. So I think all these opportunities are still coming. We do believe that a lot of work has to be done also in the end-to-end trip planning, which is not just the planning and the booking or when you're in trip. We think now India is becoming the kind of market where people are finally saying, listen, I want to book that thing to do when I'm there. So travel has fundamentally shifted from I want to go here, tick off, to what are we going to do there? So experiences is becoming a big thing. Also, a lot of regional travel and cheap regional. So getting to places, as we know from low-cost carriers and all, even overseas has become cheap. So we have got into GCC in a big way, UAE already, and now bigger in GCC because there's a very natural spillover of our brand there through NRIs, but we're getting into the local Emiratis also, local expats who live there. But in India, I think there's still a lot to be done in travel and related areas. Like Book My Forex was an acquisition, which is an earn-out kind of acquisition for us. Now, that's a very logical place. FinTech for travel is a logical place because we probably have the most affluent, fertile audience on our platforms, which because everyone's looking to buy something which is significant. Very often the average is 5,000 rupees. That's very different from all the other e-commerce platforms. What can you do about that? What can you do with the customer behavior that you know? A lot of work on the back end on machine learning through data science, obviously now AI. So I think a lot of organic investments. Inorganic, we'll continue to stay selective. We've been doing some big, some small. Corporate travel. It was an area we were not in, and now it's become such a big, we're the largest corporate travel company and the largest holiday package company also independently, competing with the offline people. And we think the best is again yet to come. SME or self-service corporate travel. So I think a lot out there. So transportation is like logical kind of thing. So we are constantly looking, and I think Rajesh is the right person to talk about this.
Yeah, so so all the new pivots that Deep is talking about, Rajesh, including things like getting into the visa business, for instance.
Very much. And I'll tell you, ironically, all these investments actually, or most of them happened during COVID. So we decided to take few bets. In down cycle, I think our learning also is actually twofold. One,
but that's what I want people to listen to carefully. You're saying at a time when your business was down 95%, where the world was going through a lockdown, you decided this is the opportune moment to actually do something new, to try something different and go out there and launch something different as well. What were you thinking?
Yeah, I'll tell you what
I think
we
the
were
ad
thinking.
tech you should talk about that. That was a great one.
No, I actually think, I'll tell you the driving force underneath, what was driving that. So there were two parallel tracks going. One, of course, we had to just go back to the drawing board and fix the cost, as Deep was alluding earlier. To that, you have to figure out various, fixed costs that existed in the system. So we drove huge amount of automation. We had certainly 1,000 engineers who were available with us because BAU was not happening, right? Hardly any BAU was happening. But then the other parallel track and the driving sort of thought for that was that, now COVID is going to be unpredictable and we didn't know the time of the COVID. And, we will, as you come out of COVID, and we were sure that we'll come out of COVID because we had some conviction having dealt with some mini crisis in the past. This, of course, was mother of all the crises. That we will come out of it. There is no question that we will not come out of it. But when we come out of it, we would have lost time. We would have lost time because, one, the COVID time itself will be the lost time. And then to rebuild the whole business to get back to the same level of size and scale will also take some more time. So then if we have to make it up, because just before COVID, we were just about to become fully profitable, right? So it was a complete setback. Now, when you come out of that, and then if you have to make up on the lost time, you had to look for new avenues. And that was the sort of driving thought behind. So we started looking at many opportunities at that point, and we had resources at our disposal because,
they were not
like
doing
I said, they were
anything at
not
that
doing
point in
anything
time.
else, and we were not by any stretch of imagination to just cut back on them, right? So we didn't want to rationalize that because, we needed them eventually in any case. So we went back to the drawing board and we looked at corporate business. Was actually one business we had just about started prior to COVID. We accelerated that big time. We built our fintech platform called Trip Money. We built our advertisement platform internally, which is doing about 100 crore of revenue about 100 crore of revenue already. Large part of that is actually going into profits. We launched in GCC market in the middle of COVID. Like we were in UAE because we built all that, the platform that we built was based out of India because all those engineers and the product guys who we had were redeployed there, right? And then we built our My Partner travel agent platform. So we built so many new platforms during that time. Now, all of them, then as we were rebuilding the business, our core B2C business, they started to add new streams of revenue for us, new streams of profitability for us. And then once we were over sort of bringing the old business back on track, this new, streams of revenue or the businesses that we built started to add. Now, therefore, now at a scale also we were growing in the mid-20s and we were making profits. So it completely changed the game. So we didn't want to sort of lose on the time that we had lost. I think the number of projects that we ended up doing in those 2 years were probably the best ever or the maximum ever that we would have
also
ever
kept
done.
our people busy. Not to forget Aarogya Setu. That was
to
done.
forget Aarogya Setu.
So that was another very exciting and obviously, not a monetary project. It was really, I think, our give back. But
How did that happen? Because I don't think people know the MakeMyTrip link to Aarogya Setu, and I mean most people have actually also forgotten about Aarogya Setu, which is not necessarily a bad thing because we want to get past COVID but want to learn the lessons from it. But how did Aarogya Setu happen?
Yeah, it's an amazing story, and I'll give it to you in short. So we had an engineer, senior engineer, Rahul Goyal, who had a brilliant idea, and he said, COVID had broken out. This was just before Holi of 2020, one day before. I remember that for a reason. And he said, boss, we can build a contact tracing way to figure out how this is spreading. And I said, are you serious? We had a chat. He's saying, yeah. And I said, write me a short note on WhatsApp because I'm going to send it to someone. And that someone was Amitabh Kant, our common friend and obviously an amazing person. And I said, Amitabh, I think we can do this. And it'll be really helpful because things were just about breaking out. And he replied with Happy Holi on the message. And I said, okay. But in a few days, he called me back and he said, can you build that, what you said? I said, yeah, we can. He said, you sure? I said, absolutely. And he said, okay, go ahead, build it. So we started building it like with a small team, Rahul, another very senior guy, Vikalp, both of them, and then a team of engineers out of Bangalore, some guys from here. We started building it. I was program manager talking. And then it suddenly became a wait to get approval, obviously. And actually, at National Scientific Advisor at that point of time was involved. And then they were looking at 2 or 3 such platforms. So a couple of other companies, I think InMobi built something similar at that time, and someone else was building. And they did a lot of rigorous testing. This was Mr. Vijay Raghavan. And somebody finally said, okay, these guys, they're doing the right thing. And go ahead and build this. So we were very clear we were going to build it pro bono. This was our give back to the nation. We had almost 20 people working on it, and we were having calls every day with PMO, morning, evening, and they were very clear on how to do it. And it scaled up to 50 million users in 2 weeks because obviously government mandate, but it held on, never crashed. It was built so beautifully and well. And we were in the thick of it. I think we ran the project for about 3.5 months, a little over 100 days. And then we realized now, we need our engineers to do other stuff. We didn't want to make money out of it. So we actually handed it to the ministry. And that time it was the Ministry of, I'm forgetting who it was. The secretary was Mr. Ajay Bhushan. I'll come back to me. And then we just kind of, we're still there to help out. But then they took it over. But it was very satisfying. Yeah, it was really, really satisfying. The whole team got felicitated on Zoom. Couldn't meet anyone. But everyone got felicitated. They got
the days of Zoom celebrations and Zoom calls.